everyone, I'm Carnes, and this is Living Consciously. Today we're getting a double header. I have brought in two completely different lessons, but they do go together. And the ideas that I'm going to share with you are spiritual principles that become very practical ways of living that enhance our experience of life and give us a greater measure of livingness. It's one way to put it. So I want to start off by talking about energies, dark energy and light energy, stored energy and expressed energy. Did you ever wonder what happens to fat when someone loses a lot of weight? You know, when we were teenagers obsessing about our weight, even though we were all skinny, we used to say, if you lose weight, I'm going to gain it, because we thought it went somewhere and, silly stuff. But you ever think about that? What happens to it? Well, it gets used. You see, when the body takes in more energy via the avenue of food than it is expressing via the avenue of activity, it stores it. It just stores the energy for future use because you might need it. That's how in love with you your pure intelligence is, that everything it does is for our good. It thinks you might need it later, right? Okay, so then we go on a diet and we start restricting the energy that's coming in, and maybe we start expressing more energy going out and we lose weight. Simple. Energy in, energy out. The fat melts. It's put to good use. Okay, so on that theme, people can carry around a lot of stored energy other than fat. And it's the energies of things like repressed rage, resentments, unforgiveness, judgments, self-rejection. And these are actual energies. Fear, they're actual energies in the body. They're stored in the body as emotions or beliefs. And because the body doesn't need them, in fact, they interfere with the well-being and health of the body over time. Very detrimental to your health to carry around those dark energies. And because it's the nature of intelligence to do everything it can to keep us whole, well, vital, and healthy, that's what the intelligence of the body is trying to do. Because of that, the intelligence will find ways to displace those energies. Anger, resentment, self-rejection, usually inappropriately, usually at someone else's expense. They become triggers, right? You know what I'm talking about. And it can be your over-the-top reaction to a perceived slight. No one meant anything, but that's what you saw. It can be a sudden mood swing that you go through. It can be sarcasm and rudeness, because these energies, when the body is attempting to get rid of them, and really it's a way of helping us, but to the ego mind, it feels like we need to defend. We need to defend ourselves, and we do it with sarcasm and rudeness and over-the-top reactions and that sort of thing. But it is actually a function of the intelligence of the body attempting to displace the emotion. I'll give you another example. This is one years and years ago, when Oprah had her talk show, way back, 20 years ago. She had on a panel of young women in their mid-20s and early 30s, and all of them had been abandoned by their fathers as children and had no connection with them and had felt deep abandonment. Some of the fathers committed suicide, some of them just died, some of them left home and never came back. So what was really fascinating was that what Oprah discovered through talking to them and their therapists was that every one of them, and it was a rather large group, kept finding men to have a relationship with who would ultimately abandon them. it's just amazing how we unconsciously pick just the right person to push the triggers to help us get rid of old energies. And so the therapist explained it. She said, well, if you don't resolve those issues, then you will find ways to bring up the feeling of abandonment again, to get it out of your body, to displace it. And, a really good therapist can help you to change your pattern of belief from being abandoned to just, it's an experience that you had. And it really doesn't reflect on you at all. That's the problem. People think that things that happen to them reflect on their value, their wholeness, their self-identity, and they really don't, not unless we allow them to. Okay, so if the bearer of these negative energies is concerned about looking good to others, they won't be as aggressive as some other personality types, who resort to rudeness or sarcasm or even violence, and they become depressive. They turn it in on themselves. But all the time, the intelligence of the physical form that we are is trying to help us stay healthy. It says, get rid of this stuff. Don't carry it around in this body anymore. It's not doing me any good. It's causing problems. And you can just prove this to yourself. The mind-body connection is not even a connection. It's one thing. And it's happening all the time. Everything we think has some effect. And there's so much new work, new science on this subject. It's indisputable. All right? So in a rather twisted way, we are always trying to cooperate with our natural tendency to health and well-being. We find the most creative ways to do it unconsciously and to get rid of this dark energy. So in my work and my life, what I attempt to do is to give practical techniques for actually neutralizing that energy. Because what we're talking about here are emotions that have beliefs attached to them. Actually, and that's what an emotion is. It's a belief with a lot of energy. And you feel it. You feel it, right? It's not the same thing as a feeling. An authentic feeling is love, joy, peace, compassion, happiness. Those are authentic feelings. Caring, empathy. Emotions are charged beliefs. They're no damn good. I'm not good enough. And you feel it, right? They're too different from me, I'm afraid. Those are emotions that are triggered by beliefs. If you change the belief, the energy dissipates. This is basic stuff, but it's revolutionary to a lot of people. You change the belief, the energy dissipates. You do not have to learn how to live with anger. You need to learn how to neutralize it by giving it its opposite. What's the opposite of anger? Love. And love is, we're not talking about Valentine's Day. Love, in this sense, is a sense of oneness with all that's good and true and beautiful, oneness with possibility, oneness with spirit, or the source of all life, oneness with other people, oneness with possibility. I think I said that, that's a big one. Oneness with joy and everything we desire. So the anger keeps that away from us. Maybe we're walking around not even knowing we're feeling angry, but we find ourselves reacting to somebody in traffic, or we're extremely irritated if we have to wait in line, or someone tells us our car needs a repair and we just fly off the handle. It has nothing to do with that moment. This is your old repressed anger finding a way out of your body again. So we don't want to live like that. I don't. Do you? No, of course not. So we learn to think in a new way. And we learn to, I guess you could say, interject or impose on the moment a better idea. My grandmother used to say, count to 10 before you get upset. And what she was saying was, don't just let that energy come out inappropriately. See if you can't come up with a better way to respond. It's a real practice, and it's pretty hard to do. in our world because there's so much coming at us all the time, but it can be done. So instead of counting to 10, or just take a breath, think of something to announce to yourself that's the very opposite. We call them affirmations, but they're really deeper than most people think of an affirmation. Most people think of an affirmation as, like, I always get a parking place. How about, my life is a joy to live, and everything about my life has to do with this moment. It's all here. Everything I am seeking is mine to express. Talked about that at length in the talk last week. Check that one out. I can't remember the name of it right now. I will before the program's over. But most all of the talks that we do here are practical ideas for living a greater life and for letting go of those old past ideas that have no place in your life whatsoever. So what we're talking about is owning the dark energy. It can be as simple as when you're triggered, realizing, oh, there it is again. It's that anger, and it has nothing to do with this moment. I do not need you anymore. You are not a part of me. And then learning to adopt a new idea that's the opposite. It's kind of like going on not going on a diet, but adopting new eating habits because you've gained some awareness of the importance of nutrition in your life. And fresh food and real food and not junk food and not processed food. You've learned. Okay, so what we're learning spiritually is that we are valuable beings, that we are God expressing. We are individualized versions of what the world calls God. I call it universal mind. We have a right to be here. And we have a right to health and happiness as well. So we learn that, and then we begin to think as if that were so about ourselves. And we take up ideas of our innate wholeness, and we personalize them. So here's a good one. Say it after me. I am right now a clean slate. I am right now a clean slate. I am not a product of my past. Not if I don't think so. If I think I am, but if I say, no, I've had a lot of varied experiences. Some of them I liked better than others, but none of them ever changed me for the worse. None of them ever chipped away at my wholeness, because that's a spiritual quality that's endowed in me, innate in me, and cannot be lessened nor diminished by any worldly experience. So, say this: I am right now a clean slate. I am fully prepared to love and be loved. Now you could say that I am fully prepared to prosper and to prosper others. I am fully prepared to live this life as a joyful celebration. Why not? That's like taking old energy or old fat and melting it, giving it a new use, and it serves us. Our mind is prepared to serve us to live a better life. We just need to know how to think. So dark energy like fat is the result of past choices, and that the choices we made were to not challenge ideas. When you're a little kid, you're a sponge, and you just take stuff in, and it becomes a habit of taking information in without challenging it. When we get a little older, we say, wait a minute, I don't think I believe that. And, I heard a man named Peter Holmes on the way here on NPR radio being interviewed by Terry Gross. He's a stand-up comic, and he was quite a devout Christian in his younger years, and then he became an atheist. But he said the most intelligent things she asked him about, did you have to find a new moral compass? And he gave this example of how he was tempted in a hotel once, because they were all poor comedians, to steal some M&Ms that were there in the front display where there was nobody there. And his atheist friend said, no. We don't not steal because we're afraid of some God. We don't not steal because we don't want to cause problems for the person who's in charge of that. she or he could get fired. So it's a new way of thinking. In other words, it replaces the old idea. Okay, we have a lot more to say about this, so we'll come back in a minute. We're going to pause now for our commercials, and thank you for paying attention to them, and come back. We'll be here.
This is a national healthcare alert from the Health Hotline. If you, a family member, or a loved one suffers from knee pain and have Medicare as your primary insurance, we've got great news. You could qualify for a pain-relieving knee brace at little or no cost to you. Get free delivery, and all the paperwork is handled by our accredited suppliers at no charge to you. We also have other pain-relieving braces available for shoulder, ankle, and your back. Call the number on your screen right now to immediately receive a pain-relieving brace at little or no cost.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call Low Cost Airlines. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call now.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business. According to the secret war, banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get the secret war free. Call the number on your screen or visit online.
All right, everybody, we're back. I'm Carol Carnes. And as I said, we're having a double header today. So I've got a new topic to bring up, but it's related. Everything is intertwined in this teaching. I want to talk in this part of our program about futurizing. If you watched your mind every day, you would realize how often you futurize. You're thinking about the future. Western culture exists mainly to work for the future, doesn't it? Work for the promotion, work for a bigger paycheck, work for retirement. How many TV spots now are about retirement? Well, it's because there's a whole lot of people retiring. So all you see is, do you have enough money? You know, well, how will you take care of your health? Blah, 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 blah. We plan daily for what we're going to do after work, for what we're going to have for dinner, for what we're going to do on the weekend or our vacation that's coming up. Vacations might take a lot of planning, but it's all in the future. We think ahead of where we are almost all the time. And if we're not thinking about the future, we're thinking about the past, but that was in the first part of the show. Now, I'm not saying planning for the future isn't a useful and even necessary aspect of our mind, but the problem is it has become the only way most people think. The only way most people are using their minds is about tomorrow or later today. So we're rarely fully present. And the idea of being present now has almost become a spiritual cliche. There's been whole books written about it, like Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. I mean, there's just, the Buddhist teaching is all about that. But we just refuse to get it. We knew what it was like when we were kids. You know, when you're fully immersed in this now moment, you're not worried, you're not fearful, you're not thinking beyond it. You are immersed in the, you're having the best time. When you are really present, you're usually having a great time. You're having fun. I can remember being about 5 years old, and it was kind of twilight, and the parents and the neighbors were sitting on the grass chatting away. And my sister and brother and some neighborhood kids were running around in the semi-darkness with, I remember it as having bed sheets, and we were making forts and doing it. But here's what I remember thinking. This is fun. And I remembered that wonderful feeling. It was because I was totally present. And we say, yeah, you're a kid. Well, there's an aspect to us that's capable of that right now. We have a ageless, deathless sprite inside of us, and she knows how to have fun. And it knows innately that we must be present in order for that to happen. So fun could include work. You know, if we were allowed to use our imaginations at work, to be creative, to play in the field of possibility, work would be a lot more fun. And in our culture, gosh, we've become so task-oriented. It's like, I don't do windows, I do this, right? You can have a lot of great ideas doing windows. If we limit ourselves by being so task-oriented and so future-oriented, if I do this, I'll get that kind of thing. Whenever we can turn work into play, we are more alive, and we are more ourselves. And when you think about it, that really is the larger goal of people, whether they know it or not. It's to seek more aliveness. I think it was Joseph Campbell who said that in one of his wonderful conversations with Bill Moyers in the 90s called The Power of Myth. And yeah, he did say that. He said something about what people are really seeking is to feel fully alive. And we don't, and that's why we're futurizing. Well, when I go on vacation, I'll feel fully alive, or when I have this much money in the bank, or when I don't have this job anymore, or when I'm free to do whatever I want. It's a futurizing thing. We're seeking to feel fully alive at some future date. We don't know that. We don't know that's what we're seeking. But Western culture's become pretty insipid. And we're not given many opportunities in our adult life to play, to have fun. You know, there are companies, I think Google's one of them, that really allow their workers to be innovative and creative and move around on skates and just, stand up if they want to work or sit if they don't. They approach it like, we're here to be creative and have fun. You're going to keep people forever if you do that. Okay? So we can do it for ourselves as well. Spirituality ought to be fun. There's nothing fun about religion. It's deadly serious. In fact, most religions are dead. There's nothing alive about memorizing scripture or quoting ancient texts. Spirituality is about aliveness. It's about now. It's about who I am in this moment. Not about what I will become after I die and go to some imaginary place in the sky. That's ridiculous. It's got to be about now. Why did we get born? We got born to express our spirit, to express God, to reveal what God is by means of us as an individualized version of it. And that's about now. So now includes nature. I was talking to another minister the other day who stopped by for a visit on her way home, and she's about my age, and we were talking about how we have evolved somewhat, just the fact of getting older, I guess, but how both of us feel more in awe of nature than ever before, and we feel the presence of God more in nature than ever before. In fact, in the first part, I was quoting Peter Holmes, the young man who was the comedian, who during hard times developed a moral compass not based on the fear of God, but on his oneness with other people. Very beautiful. And he said something about a truly aware spiritual person sees the beauty in a speck of dust on the glass, or the way the water looks in the sunlight. He's talking about being a little mystic. And that has to do with being absolutely present right here and right now. Don't wait for tomorrow to happen, to live fully, to be fully alive, to be fully aware of who you are and how precious this life actually is. Our happiness is now, and so is our peace, and so is our vitality, which becomes health, and so is our supply, which becomes prosperity. It's all here now. And so are you, and so am I. And if you live in the Las Cruces area, you can come and be with us on Sunday morning, on some Sunday morning of now. How about this weekend? We have a great time together, and it's a rich experience of dialogue, information, fun, sharing. You know, it's just a great way to start your week. Sunday at 10:30 at the Mesilla Community Center. Get on my website, carolcarnes.com, and you can pick up my Living Consciously messages there. Like us on Facebook, like the LCC channel on Facebook. Let them know that you're seeing these, and that really means a lot to us to get that kind of response. It's very important to us. All right, so we're here, and you can, one more thing, get my book. It's called The Way In, and you can get it on Lulu, Lulu.com, or Amazon. You can get the e-version as well as the print. Thank you so much for being with me. Be here now all the time. Live fully and stay tuned in. See you next time.